I'm just going to go over here really quickly and share with you your homework packet for stockholders' equity. So in this particular chapter, which is really kind of leading up to the big one, which is the statement of cash flows, we're really going to go through and revisit essentially going to be some concepts, really related to owner's equity. So the first one, or my first big lie, that was basically to you, is that the concept of, when shares are actually issued, you're not just taking a debit to cash and crediting common stock. There's an extra layer which I intentionally leave out at the very beginning of the class, just to make it easier for you. But there is this concept called par value. And what par value is, it is really the minimum amount a shareholder has to essentially invest in order to basically their minimum obligation to a corporation. And so really, when we look at this over here, you're going to see like par value. This is Meta Platforms or Instagram. This is common stock 0.00006 par value. And so when it comes to the accounting, the first thing we're going to go through and do is assign it the initial amount to par. Whatever is in excess of that, it's going to be something called additional paid-in capital common stock. So that's going to be the first thing we're going to be looking at doing in this particular chapter. One of the other things we're also going to be kind of looking at as well is in terms of how corporations are structured, and basically how this is by far probably one of the worst charts I've ever done, but just hey, it's free. So when we look at this over here, like how do dividends happen, and also too, another lie I told you in the first two exams was basically, oh, I'm debiting dividends and crediting cash. But the reality of it is there's an extra step involved. You've got to declare it, and then there's a date of record, which we don't do anything. And then we have the date of payment. So we're going to learn a little bit more about that. Also coming over here are essentially stock dividends. I'm not going to test this. I'm just including it. We also have stock splits, meaning that if a share price gets too big, the company will oftentimes go through and split the shares. And there's multiple examples of this. There's a lot of psychological reasons behind forward share splits. The other part we're going to also be looking at too is treasury stock, or a company that repurchases its own shares of stock. And the one that I always use as an example is our friends at the Home Depot. And when we come over here to the Home Depot, when we're going through and looking at this treasury stock, this is going to show up as a negative amount basically in stockholders' equity, meaning that we're buying our own stock back. I'm debiting treasury stock, and I'm basically crediting cash. So it's when I'm repurchasing my own shares of stock. And there's a variety of reasons as to why companies go through and do it. But these are going to be the different concepts we're going to be going through and exploring in this particular chapter. And I will give additional information in terms of how I go through and test this. And just to kind of give you a preview for what we would be looking at moving forward, and this is going to basically be in future parts of, say, like, in intermediate accounting, is that you really, in that second semester, you're going to get a lot more into treasury stock, earnings per share, and the like. Our job here is to get you to kind of be used to how do different equity transactions really kind of go through and work. So just like every other homework packet, there is also an AI application that you can go through and use, different videos that go through and explain parts of it. However, on my exam, if you're taking my class, this generally appears on my final exam, and it's not going to be nearly as important as the cash flows, which is really our last packet. So in any event, I want to thank you for being with me here today. Thank you for liking and subscribing to the channel. I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Have a great day.